Take two. Yay, you can hear me. All right. Cannot believe how often when the sound just doesn't go. And the only way to fix it is to go completely out, shut your computer completely down, and restart it, which is nuts. Yay, you can finally hear me. All right, so now we'll have a few people wandering around wondering where the heck they're supposed to go. Hopefully they'll go back and pick up the revised link. Let's see. All right, so Lynn is back, Patty's back, Laura, Eureka. Hey, Renee. All right, yeah, we had a sound technical issue. So anyway, glad you all made it. Hey, Gail, you can hear me now. Okay, good. Yeah, you know, I just get in this notion that computers should work, and so I don't. Sometimes I just grab the computer, I don't restart it, I put it down, I plug it in, and it works fine. Other times I do that exact thing, and I have this little startup procedure. I do that exact thing, and then it doesn't work right. So I need to learn, start from completely turned off, open it up, and then I'm fine. So sorry about that. Hey, Lanny, welcome in. Julianne, went back and picked up the device. Like, yeah, it's just didn't work the first time around. So we're getting where we really know what we're doing here, right? Let's see. All right, that's about the best spot for that for vocal. And Mel is in. Good to see you, Mel. Patricia Moore sliding in from Texas. Hey, Patty. Did you go by Patty or Patricia or Trisha or Trish? Ann, good to see you. Eastern Denver. Is that Aurora? Come on, be honest, Ann. Linda, hey, how you doing? Pauline, yeah, joining me now. And hey, Manette, welcome in. Let's see, Patricia. Okay, good. That keeps it clean. We have a Patty and whose full name is Patricia, and then we have you as Patricia. And I have had several friends as Trishas over the years. So let's see. Linda, back in. Yay. Linda, welcome in from Sonoma, California. That's got to be, it's got to be beautiful there this time of year, probably. Well, it's probably beautiful there every single day of the year, I'm guessing. Barbara, happy, wonderful Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Is that what today is? It feels like it ought to be Friday. No. Too close to Aurora. Montclair. Oh, that's a beautiful area. Have you come to any of our ukulele workshops that we do at the library there on Montclair? And what is it about? I don't remember. Just on the other side of Colorado Boulevard. That's it's pretty close to Aurora. Hey, Chris, welcome in. Boy, you've been consistent, Chris. Good to see you. Let's see who else. We're gonna give it a couple more minutes since we had a catastrophe with the login. So yeah, just one before the lockdown. Okay, good, Ann. I'm glad you were able to attend. I love that library. Tara Bannon is our main contact. She's, to be perfectly honest, she is one of our most important ukulele advocates, and I've done any number of things with her over the years. And here's a librarian, that they don't really have to kill it if they don't want to, but she does every single day. I'm just constantly amazed at the stuff she's sort of thinking about. What can we do to bring the community together? It's really fascinating. Let's see. Christine in from Bozeman, Caitlin in from up on the hill, Conifer, and let's see. Bozeman is knocking it out around here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move my base of operations to Bozeman with how many of you guys are rolling in. All right. Well, we're starting a little late because of the sound issues, and we actually have a pretty easy discussion today, sort of easy, on talking about the scales and what they're good for and what they're not good for and all that. Hi, Christina. Welcome in from Phoenix. How hot's it in Phoenix today? It's pretty hot here in Denver. Probably every time she says, I'm from Phoenix, people say, how hot is it there? I was in Phoenix one time. Not Phoenix exactly. I was in a little town east of there called Safford. I was working at a real estate firm that built strip malls back in those days. And I was down there to do some due diligence on it. And it was 125 degrees in Safford, Arizona. And when you walked on the asphalt, it kind of went down. It was so hot. And I was, going and talking to all the tenants in the building, and I would walk out of the front of one strip mall unit, walk down to the next strip mall unit and walk in, and I was out of air because it was so dang hot. That is a area not meant for human habitation. I remember at midnight I was still laying there trying to go to sleep, and it was 99 degrees, and I was like, this doesn't seem right. So 100 degrees today. All right, let's see. Flip flop Wednesday. Hey, Kathy. All right, so let's talk about playing the let me do this. Cut it off here. Let's talk about playing the C scale. Let's talk about why ukulele players have a tendency not to read sheet music. Let's talk about why you should probably begin that tendency to buck the trend and start to think a little bit about actual sheet music and how to read notes, in what it does for you and what it doesn't do for you. Let's talk about where the notes are on the fretboard and this sort of thing. So what I like to do when we take this playing the C scale piece of paper out, unfortunately, unless I have somebody with some significant background in music, most of the time players don't care about this. They don't need to know about this. It's not that important to them. You can have a very happy life in ukulele and know none of this. Okay. But what my hope is as a player who's more interested in going to that next level and starting to really think of this not as a fun activity or a hobby that I'm going to do in between beers, but that this is a musical instrument that's going to turn you into a musician. And then people are going to start wanting you to do, they're going to want to start paying $45 to get a seat at an arena so they can listen to you play. And I don't even think Jake commands that money yet, but he will. So what we were thinking about is all of our notes on this fretboard are brown, right? Everything's brown. And so it's hard to find notes where they are. And when we start to put names on sounds, we're entering into that rarefied era where real musicians live, where they can put names and descriptions on everything that sound-wise that comes out. It is a mixed blessing, because when you get with other musicians and they start talking, they talk all this stuff, right? It's their whole vocabulary in and of itself. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're a great musician. It just means you're really good about talking about sound. And so I want you to be in the middle of those two places. I want you to be a really good musician. I want you to be a really good player. I want you to take this and have a great time. But I also need you, I think, to know a little bit about the names of sounds and how that stuff works out. Let's see. Alan just checked in. He's been out kayaking. Yes, that sounds nice, doesn't it? All right, so the first thing on your piece of paper up there at the top is a piano, okay? And in my mind, every musician needs to know how to read those notes, okay? And so I wrote on there middle C. That's the main note. If you go to a piano, we're right in the middle. That's middle C, and you know it's middle C because then right next to it are two black keys. And then there's a little gap, and then there's three black keys. And so that's how you know everywhere every time you see two black keys, the note, the piano key to the left of it will be a C. Now, if you go in the middle of the piano, it's middle C, and then there's the next C up, and the next C after that, and the next C up, and so on. And so, if you take that little drawing there, the little piano keyboard, and where you see C, the white note next to it is a D, and the white note next to it is an E. Now notice there's no black note between E and F. Okay, so that's something that becomes a bit of a humorous thing later on. E and F don't. E doesn't have a sharp. It doesn't have a black key. It technically does, but you got to be kind of far down the crazy lane to get to know when and why you would have an E sharp. Next to that, the F is always the one to the left of the three black keys, so that would be F. Then G, then A. A is we only go to G in music, and then we start again in A, B, and C. And so you will see on the drawing, we get started at middle C, we go all the way up to the next C. I left a couple of other notes to the right of that, just so you would have the ability to sort of contextualize, when I get to this C, yeah, there's still more notes going up the fretboard here. And so I think if you decided, hey, I want to get involved in reading standard notation, I think the very first thing you have to do is make sure you understand how notes are arranged on a piano. It's very visual. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C again. And we always start with a C, two notes to the left, one note to the left of the double black keys. So if that wasn't, they probably covered in elementary school for you, and you probably immediately forgot it or never really got it in there. The nice thing that I had back in 5th and 6th grade, I was put into trumpet class and into the school orchestra. Knew nothing about music, but that's one thing that we did learn was how to read music, and it served me well. So I have to thank whichever teacher said, yep, Gary, you're going to be in the band, because I'm probably thinking they just wanted me out of their class for a while. Give me to Mr. Kerr, the band teacher, and hope for the best, right? Anyway, so those are the notes. You really do want to memorize that arrangement of notes on the piano, because then you can put names to all of these notes. Now, let's drop down to the staff. You've got a treble clef. It's in 13/2. What that means is there's going to be 13 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 half notes starting there. And then I put in a couple of vertical lines. Those are not really measures. They're just vertical lines to distinguish between different parts of the ukulele. And yeah, Kat, get your act together. All right, Kat's finally here. Whew, we made it. All right. On the left of that line between the treble clef and the little line there, I wrote low G ukes only. And so a lot of you guys do not have that low G, that low A, and that low B. But if you happen to have, instead of a high G, you have a low G here, you have extra notes on your ukulele. Now, I will tell you that I typically, when I'm doing arrangements, I ignore the fact that low G exists, except when I'm doing them for the orchestra and I want to take advantage of being able to have some of the instruments in the orchestra play at a lower pitch. And so then I will take advantage of those. But for the most part, having a low G gives you a little depth of sound that's different. I would say it sounds a little more guitar-y and a little less ukulele-y. A lot of people, I think every last one of my players in the orchestra, they're not mine, the players in the orchestra, the people who've been around a while, almost all of them have both a low G and a high G. Frankly, there's no reason that you have to own a low G. It's just you end up with one, right? So that's the three notes there to the left. Now, the important part is from where it says, this is where you find the C major scale on your ukulele. That's those notes there. So we're going to run through that. We're going to play it a few times just to get comfy with it. And then notice to the right of that, the extra notes, those are going to be further up your fretboards, 5, 7, 10, and so on, all the way up to fretboard. Now, you guys that have been hanging out with me a lot during our interesting time here in the world, you guys have been playing lots of these notes down here, and they're typically, we don't talk about them as a C scale. Well, they're just extra notes that are hanging out up here that we get to use, and we use them a lot when we're playing actual music. But when we're working on scales and we're working on memorizing, where the notes are, we may or may not use those extra notes. Okay. Hey, Judy, in from Conifer. Nice. All right. So now we're going to work the C scale up. We're going to get where we can play it all the way from top to bottom. So the first note, using your tablature, hopefully those of you guys that are new to tablature, this is making some sense. I haven't gotten an email from anybody saying, I don't know what's going on. So apparently I'm just being the perfect teacher and leaving no question unanswered accidentally. But definitely, if you're confused or you're fighting this a little bit, send me a note. Let's see if we can figure out what the heck's going on. So the first note is a 0 on the third string. Remember, it's strings 1, 2, 3, and 4. And remember, tablature is written upside down. It drives you crazy the first couple weeks, and then after that, you don't think about it ever again. So we want to play that first note as a 0 open on the third string. Okay. Then you're going to use your middle finger to play the 2 on that same string. Okay. Then you're going to play a 0 open on the second string. Then you're going to play an F, which is a 1 on that same string. Then you're going to play a 3 with your ring finger on that same string. Then you're going to play the first string open. Then you're going to play a 2 with your middle finger on that same string. And then you're going to play a 3 with your ring finger. And that's a C scale. If you're playing the piano, it's just all those white notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's what you're working on. It's just playing those white notes. We're ignoring the black notes altogether. When we're playing in the key of C, or we're using the C scale, we're not going to use any of the black notes. That's why we have to skip certain frets, because those are where the black notes live. And when we go to different keys, like, so when we play an F key in the F, when we're playing an F, which we do in this intro program, then there's a B flat in there, and so instead of hitting a regular B on it, then you would hit this B flat. Same thing with G scale. Instead of hitting a regular F, we're going to hit an F sharp when it's time to hit an F. And so that's super glossing over the big issues here, but the main idea is that we want to be able to play a scale from top to bottom smoothly. And I like, when you're brand new, rather than having you dive into the arpeggios and all this super complex stuff, I like just to have you warm up each time you're ready to play with the C scale. That way you're just talking these fingers into moving independently, and you're talking this hand into making sure you can get your thumb onto the right string. If you're more advanced and you're working on your IMs, you can do this with IM, right? All right, so let's try it together. We're going to start at the low C, and we're going to go to the high C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3. Let's do it again from the bottom. Ready? Play. 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3. And then one more time, a tiny bit faster. Ready? Play. 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3. Okay, that's a rising action on that. In music, we tend to, when things are going up, we tend to get louder because things are getting more exciting as they go up. But on a scale, you want to try to keep it all even. We want the volume to stay about the same. We want to get the best and cleanest and prettiest tones we can, and make it lovely. Okay, now let's go from the top to the bottom. Okay, so you're going to read your tablature. Not only is it upside down now, but it's also, you're going to read it from right to left. Okay, so start at that high C, which is a 3 on the first string. Okay, let's start there, and then we'll go down. Okay, 1, 2, ready, play. 3, 2, open, 3, 1, open, 2, 2, open. Let's do it one more time from the top. Ready, play. 3, 2, 0, 3, 1, 0, 2, 0. Okay, that's a tiny bit more complex. All right, now let's amp up to the next level, which is we're going to play it all the way from the bottom to the top, and then we're going to turn around and come right back down. Now, here's something you guys should know. I'm working on getting into music school, and one of the things that they require you to do in music school is play your scales, right? So in the audition, you have to play scales, and I'm scared out of my wits. So I've been playing it, and that's why all this nonsense is going on with the piano. I've been practicing my scales. One of the things that my piano teacher taught me was when you go do an up and back, you go all the way up, and then you don't repeat that top note, and you turn right around and go back. Okay, and it seemed very important to her that I not repeat the top note. So because it was important to her, it's important to me, and it should be important to you. We're going to go from the bottom all the way to the top, and then we're immediately going to turn around and start coming back down. We're not going to play that top note twice. We're not going to go up, stop, start, and come back down. We're going to do just one continuous flow from the bottom to the top. Oh my gosh, Caleb's here today. Hey Caleb, how's it going, dude? And Arlo's in, dude. Right? Okay, got two of my buddies that just logged in here. All right, let's start from the bottom. We're going to go to the top. We're not going to double that C note, and then we're just going to turn right back around and come down. Okay, from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3, 2, 0, 3, 1, 0, 2, 0. How'd it go? Feel pretty good or feel pretty horrible? If it feels pretty good, that's a great sign that your hands are cooperating, your brain is thinking clearly, things are coming together for you really well. If you're fighting it, obviously this is one of those things I want you to work on to get a little bit smoother at. Cool that you are looking into music school going. Really, but you got this. Well, you would think I have this. I went over and I thought, you might have guessed that I'm not that great at following directions and not particularly great at being instructed. And so we'll see how things go. I am working really hard to get in, so we'll see once I get in whether it goes well or not. But now, what we want to do, it's been a lot of years since I went to school, so it's probably going to be a disaster. Let's go talk about why this is important and how this particular process can help you read standard notation and why you might want to read standard notation. So if you'll notice on here, you're reading the tablature, right? 02, 013, 023. Well, you've already figured out and you know that those notes are related to the notes on the standard notation line, okay? And so all you have to know now is every time you see an open on that's a C, that's a middle C, that's never going to change. So if you went and got a piece of sheet music off the internet and all it had was the standard notation, all you'd have to do is look and that's that, okay? Next one's you see the D, it's right below the staff, it's there, okay? Then an E is sitting on that very first line, that's where E hangs out. F is in the first space, okay? G is on the second line going up. A is in the second space. B is in the second line, or the third line up. Is second fret is a B, and then the third space up is a C, and that's that. And that never changes. So in standard notation, it doesn't matter what instrument you're on, that never changes. All the treble clefs for all the instruments, it's written exactly the same. And that's why they did it, because it was hard to copy sheet music back in the day and set it up for each individual instrument. So they just came up with this standard notation and gave it to everybody, which was super beneficial in 1783, right? When Beethoven rolled around, he made one set of stuff, handed it out. That was that. Well, he actually had copyists make individual ones for individual instruments, but for the most part, it was once agreed upon language. And that's what's great about music, is you can go to any place in the world of music makes sense in some senses, and certainly classical music and sort of Western civilization. This is a sort of dyed in the wool, 100%. This is what we're doing kind of thing. The good news is that that means everybody can play from the same piece of music. The bad news is it's not necessarily the most efficient way for you as a ukulele player. And frankly, tablature is a much more efficient system for fretted instruments for the most part. The only weakness it has, it doesn't tell you how long to hold a note. And so that's where the standard notation comes in. Oh, thanks, Lindy. I hope I can do it. Okay. So do you need to know standard notation? No. Should you know standard notation? Maybe. If you are somebody who is academically minded and A-type personality and really working to just really figure this thing out and really get to that level, then yeah, heck yeah, you probably better spend some time getting comfy with standard notation. I will tell you, when I write music, I always write it in standard notation first. I get all of the important elements in there. That's how I write it. Then I copy it onto the tablature line, and then I edit it from the tablature line because I needed to work on this instrument. So then I edit the tablature line, and then my last step, my cool move is after I get the tablature exactly the way I want it in terms of playability, then I just drag it up and drop it back onto the standard notation line. And so that's sort of the procedure I use. Is I think standard notation is much faster for me to think in, for getting the initial ideas down. And then tablature is super important because you want it to work on this instrument. And you noticed today, for example, that the song you're working on today, can't take my eyes off of you, was clearly not written on a ukulele. It really did not fit particularly conveniently or nicely onto the fretboard, no matter what key I picked. And so you know that was not written on that instrument at all. Probably written on a piano, probably. And so that's what you're working on. Fran asks, I seem to only want to practice songs. I need to get better about scales and your arpeggios. Yeah, let's talk about that, because that's, again, one of those musical issues. What we really want to do is play songs, and you'll notice right on the top of jollyrogerukulele.com, I wrote, the songs don't matter, and they really don't matter, but they're sure as a heck a lot more fun to practice than scales and arpeggios and this type of stuff. I will make a one caveat. I think my arpeggio book is actually really fun to practice, but outside of that, that sort of just drudgery is not that fun. When I sit down here at the piano in the morning, I do my scales because I have to, because I want to get smarter and I want to get more agile with my hands, but I don't enjoy it at all, right? And then the next thing I do is I play my Bach and my Beethoven, which I enjoy a tremendous amount more, and then I wrap up with stuff that I wrote myself, which is of course what I want to do, right? So it's better to sort of put just stuff that you don't want to do maybe toward the beginning of your practice, just to get some discipline around music. And ukulele is not one of those instruments where you have to be deadly disciplined in order to. Oh, Donna's headed out with gloves on. I don't know where she's going, but hopefully. Oh, she's gonna go clean the neighbor's drain. See, this is why you work on music, is because then you're busy when that kind of stuff is going on. So what we're talking about is discipline versus playing songs versus serious study versus having fun. This instrument, please make sure you know it's supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. On the other hand, you can also get really to be a fine musician with this instrument. And so I think all of those are it's a pendulum, right? If you're only playing songs just for fun, you will get stuck because you won't have the technical background. And if you're only playing technical stuff, you will sound like a robot and you won't have that musical sense about it. And you can see that when you watch Jake, for example, who has this incredible technical ability and the right heart, you know. And so when he plays, it all comes together in this amazing, like, wow, holy cow, I want to play like that guy, right? And so you want to kind of keep coming back to center. A little bit of technical, a little bit of artistry, and hopefully bring all that together. You wouldn't be logged into this broadcast if you weren't thinking technically anyway. So that may be just enough for you, right? And so what we're really then what we may be working on is, hey, let's get some music and some artistry out of you. I have that problem with some of my students. They're really good at the technical side, not that interested in working on getting the beauty of the music out. And so both of those are true legitimate things that you want to work on, both areas of that. Kari says, you're right, not a ukulele tune. yeah, it's not a ukulele tune. And we're going to talk about what makes it frustrating. Let's see. Janice just logged in from Sydney. Janice, I gotta tell you, man, I don't know what time it is in Sydney. I think it's super early in the morning. Makes me arpeggios tuneful and a good study. It can be quite meditative. Yeah, when I wrote first of all, we got somebody in from Australia, so will you guys don't act like animals, right? We got somebody who's here who's very, very, down under. They're legit. But when I wrote the arpeggio book, I was teaching myself how to play the ukulele at that point, and I thought, and what I modeled it off of was this book here. This is a book by Bach. And this is a really fancy word for well-tempered clavier. It's basically should say play the piano good is what this was. And Bach took a lot of time and many years to really work on this to get it where you could play in every key, but you could also play these beautiful tunes. And so over and over in here, he just wrote really, really fabulous tunes. And so when I sat down to write my arpeggios out, I wanted them to at least have some musicality to it. I didn't want them to just be dry sort of exercises, but actually something where you could have a nice song. And so hopefully you're finding that. So thank you, Janice. That's very kind of you. Not so bad. You start around 8:30 a.m. Oh, well, goodness sakes. That's is that early in Australia? Probably. You guys are tough. You guys stay up late. All right. So last discussion item on this, and then we're going to dive into can't take my eyes off of you. At the bottom of this page, is all of the notes on the fretboard. Okay, so you'll notice on the far left side it says G, C, E, A, and it's off the back of the nut here, G, C, E, A. Okay, so that's the four notes that you have on your just wide open. My dog has fleas. George Clooney eats apples. Those are just wide open notes, and then you start to figure out, all right, I'm going to memorize where all of my notes are on my ukulele. So the first thing is to think about, you don't need to know where the black notes are. You only need to know where the white notes are, because in between those is where the black notes live. And the problem with black notes is they come with two names. It's either a C sharp or a D flat, and I think probably there's a good chance you've run across that somewhere along the way. But just know all of the black notes have two names, and it gets ugly when you put it all onto the fretboard like that. That's not what you really need to know. Anyway, what you need to know is that's a G, this is an A, and this is a B. Okay, and then there happens to be a C hanging out right there too. Okay, so if I know this is a G and this is an A, then this one has to be an A flat or a G sharp, right? Now, that one's not going to come up in your life very often. When we do an E7, it does, okay, but not a ton. Meanwhile, you know that on this string, you got E, F, and G, and then there's an A right there. What you'll find out as a ukulele player is you're going to be pressing that too an awful lot, because it's an F sharp, which is in the key of G, right? And this isn't a music theory class at all. It's really what this lesson should be focused in on is, where are the notes on my ukulele? Do I need to know them? Do I not need to know them? I would say generally speaking, it's not critical to know what the notes are unless you want to read standard notation. And if you want to read standard notation, I can tell you, I'm pretty good at standard notation. I've been playing this for almost 20 years. I still, on these top two strings, I still have to think through which ones are which. Right? I can figure it out by doing, going up C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, but it doesn't come up in my work. It just doesn't come up as a thing that I need to be really really plugged into. On the other hand, these bottom two strings comes up all of the time. So it's probably a good idea to know A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then the A starts again on 12. And so I would say those notes are come up a lot, so I happen to know them. And the second string quite a bit as well, not near as much. And the top two strings, honestly, you just don't play up there. There's very rare when you're going to hit one of those notes. And when you are up there, you're probably looking at tablature and you've refingered something to make it a little easier. It's not really that it's necessary to know those notes. It just happens to be easier to play them up there. So just be mindful. It's one of those things you get to decide where you are on your continuum of crazy. Is knowing a little bit about sheet music important? Is knowing nothing about sheet music okay with you? Is knowing everything about sheet music? And so somewhere you find yourself. And I would say there are things about standard notation that actually are helpful. And then there's a lot of stuff that is not necessary to know. Right now, when you look at when we go to, let's see, I'm trying to think of how to put this. In guitar, there are two ways of doing scales. There's the rock way of doing scales, and there's the classical way of doing scales. The classical way of doing scales is the way Segovia wrote them out, and that's how we are expected to do them. They're ridiculous. He was 12 when he wrote them. They are not quality scales. Meanwhile, there's the rock scales, which are dead on, make 100% sense. They're so easy and so fast, and they're really great for improvising, and jazz players use them as well. Those are the scales we should be really working on, but it depends on your goal, right? If you want to go to classical guitar school, you got to learn the Segovia classical scales. If you want to learn rock and roll or jazz, you got to learn these other scales. And so I would say know your goal, right, and know what's important to you. And for most of you, probably just warming up with a little scale is good enough. Okay, so it's there. Those, I keep that in my book. I get a lot of people with some music background who want to bring a tradition that they know from another instrument to the ukulele, which is fine. Same. I learned my scales on the piano, and I wanted to learn them on this as well. But in terms of necessary, you kind of decide what your goals are. All right, that's enough yakking. Let's go move on to the next song. So it's sort of like eating Brussels sprouts first so you can get to the good stuff. That's how I do it. If I don't eat my Brussels sprouts first, I'm not eating the Brussels sprouts, right? You want to eat them while they're hot. You want to, and what they don't tell you when you're a kid is that you can make Brussels sprouts with bacon, and then you can charge $27 at Root Down over here on the hill, and they are spectacular. All right, so I just realized the note on the 12th fret is the open note, just an octave higher. Yeah, on the right side of that little drawing, it says G, C, E, A again. That's your 12th fret. G, C, E, A. Okay, so that's your octave higher. And then all of the notes start over again, the same as up here. They're just an octave higher, right? Okay. And by the way, important for those of you who are really going to master this instrument, this 12th fret is magical. It is a magical place because that is dead square halfway between the nut and the saddle. That's the 12th fret. And if you hold your finger right above the 12th fret wire, you get these beautiful harmonics. And those are the natural harmonics that happen automatically at the 12th fret. You'll see Jake use them all the time, right? You'll see almost every decent guitar player will use them significantly. That they're just really a beautiful way. And you can create artificial harmonics by fretting and doing a particular pluck on this hand. That's so you can put harmonics anywhere you want. But these ones just naturally live here. And it's because it's right in the middle of the string. The other cool thing about it, this is pure trivia, but a lot of this stuff was figured out by the ancient Greeks, and even before that, the ancient Arabians. They did a lot of mathematics on taking a string, cutting it in half. Pythagoras was relatively well known for doing a lot of work mathematically in music to come up with some of the stuff that we're still used today. So it's kind of fun, you know, in terms of just weird, random things to know. All right. Oh, thanks for the Caleb. All right, let's move on. All right. So I tried to stretch that part out as long as I could so that we would have less time to work on today's song. Today's song is pretty hard. We're going to go through it in scary moment by scary moment, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm hoping will happen at some point during this class. My computer, which I have been telling you about has been gone to the shop for 2 weeks because I burned out yet another video board. And I do that. This is the third computer that I've completely burned out the video board. I'm not even a gamer, and here they go. But apparently whatever software I use for music ends up using all of the gaming or the video stuff. So I called them. I've been calling them every couple of days. How's it going? And so he said I would either have it done today or tomorrow. So I am hoping that I get my good computer back, which means that I can take a couple of things on here that I didn't put on that I can't put on with this. The software I use is really decent on Macintosh, and it's completely ridiculous how poor it is on the Windows machine. And so I'm hoping when I get that back, I can put on a few little things on this to help make it easier to play. Those complicated bar chords up the neck are a mess on this. And so we'll talk about them, and then I'm hoping that I can get you a little bit cleaner copy once I get my computer back, I'm hoping. All right, so let's go through it. We're going to start with the just talking about the chords generally. If you are a singer, you can absolutely just use those chords. Can't take my eyes off of you, right? Okay. And then there are these jazz chords that we met when we were working on jazz stuff. Okay, they're beautiful. D major 7 is absolutely fabulous. You've got at measure 5 this D9. The ninth chords on the ukulele sound nice. Okay, so you've got this bar on 2, and then this shape. It feels like an upside down F chord, bottom string, and then third string. Okay, isn't that lovely? That's just a really, really fine sound. So that's a sound that's going to come up in jazz and really nice to play sometimes. Okay, again, you want to be a pretty good singer to overcome all of the issues in this song. Next thing, we got a G chord there, measure 7. Hopefully that's coming familiar. Hopefully that's not something that you're fighting still. If you're new, you're fighting G chord because G chord is hard. Okay, and then measure 9, you got a G minor. I want you to know that one without thinking about it. That's a beautiful chord on ukulele. Index on 1, middle on 3, middle on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, ring finger, 3rd fret, 2nd string. It's just a beautiful chord on ukulele. And then, of course, we already talked about D chord. You got an E7 at major 13, index, middle, ring. Okay. Let's move on and see what's happening on page 2. You'll remember we had this D ninth chord. Was it a ninth or minor ninth? What was it? Yeah, D9. And then at 14, you move this back 2, and in this case, it becomes a G minor 6. Be cool. That's a cool sounding chord. So sometimes it's a ninth, and sometimes it's a 6th, and you don't want to lose sleep over it. You have to do the math to figure out why that is, and it's not worth your time. Okay, so sometimes it's a 6th, sometimes it's a ninth. And that's something that's fascinating about chords, especially on ukulele. A lot of chords share names they have exactly the same shape, but they have different names. So, you guys have probably run into, if you just strum open, that's either a C6 or an A minor 7th. And we have a couple of super smart musical people who come to this, and they can probably figure out a few other names for what C, E, G, and A work out to be. Now let's go into measure 18. You've got a B minor 7th. That's just a straight bar on 2. Okay? And then notice at 19, it goes all the way up to 7. And this is where things get kind of rough on this song, right? Okay, so just know that E minor 7th is right there. You've got this other E minor 7th down here, 0202. There's that sound of it, and then there's this sound of it. Okay, very different in terms of overall timbre, but it is the same chord. And so there's times you would use one over the other. Measure 20, if you're singing, you get that A7. If you're playing the tablature, you're going to get that A7. Okay, sorry, you guys have to work harder. And then what else is showing up? Oh, I already talked about measure 23. You got that other E minor seventh, and D6 and B minor seventh, same exact chord, shape anyway. Very different functions. And I'm trying to think. Let's go to measure 33, page 3. There is a D diminished, okay, and I think it's a D diminished. After putting it in there, I wasn't sure if it was a D diminished or another name of it, but it's good enough. D makes sense. I played it several times, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. You're going to put 2 fingers on 4, top and second, and then 2 fingers on 5, on 1 and 3. Okay. And you wouldn't think this would be a sound. Like, what am I going to use that sound for? And what that's going to do is then turn into the C7, and then you're going to go back to the top. So it creates that turnaround phrase. Well, we talked about that a lot in the jazz program, where you get to the end of the song, and then they'll do 2 or 3 or 4 really crazy chords that lead you back up into the song again. We should probably take a moment and just talk about repeats in this. Guys, I did everything I could to make the repeats less ridiculous, but in pop music, they have a tendency to sing it once, and then they go back and they sing it a little bit differently, and then they go back and sing it a little bit differently. And it's not like, with Lady Gaga, she does it one time and then adds something and then does the same thing over and over and over, dead on exactly the same, because these days you got to sell albums, you got to sell songs, and so you want people to sing along, so you don't change it up, you don't mess with success, you find a catchy phrase and you just beat it into the ground. That's what you do these days. Back, in the previous eras, they would want to mix it up a little bit, make it a little bit different each time. And so the repeats are really a challenge on here. I really tried to help you out as much as I can, but it's not easy to track them. All right, let's go on and see if I missed any other chords in the song. All right, so that's going to be our chords. Let's go now to page 1, and we're going to talk about what you would do if you were new and you were thinking, how am I going to play this thing? I would start by just going through the melody. I would probably go listen to the MP3 a few times, make sure that I know what I'm playing. This song was pretty popular for a while. I knew what it was, and one of my students wanted me to write it up for him, so I did. And then I've changed it quite a bit for you guys today. But well, to be honest, he got the melody and the chords, and then I let him on his own. And so you guys get a little bit more conscientiousness. Let's go through. Won't play the whole thing in tab, but let's just do it for those of you guys that are kind of new and still working on getting your tab reading together. Let's just play the top line for a while. Okay, so let's start with 1, 2, and now notice you're just 2, the first 3 notes. There's 3 notes, but they're squished into the space where we would normally see 2 notes. That's called a triplet, and that's what that little bracket up above there is all about, is that's that 3 telling you, hey, you got to play these a little bit faster than you're used to playing them. And you'll see all over the front page of this, you got a lot of triplets. We're not going to worry about them overly, but when you are getting the song up performance ready and you're really trying to get it dead on, or if you're playing with other people and they got to keep time with you, you want to make those faster and you want to make those triplets a little cleaner. Okay, so let's give it a try. 1, 2. You're just too good to be true. Oh, 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 2, oh, 2, oh, 2, oh. Oh, 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 2, oh, 2, oh. Oh, oh, 3, oh, 3, oh, 3. 3, 3, 3, oh, 3, 2, 3. 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 2. 2, 2, oh, 2, oh, 3, oh. Oh, oh, 1, oh, 2, 1, 2. Okay. And then when you get to the end of measure 16, you'll go back and do the second verse. Be aware, when you come through the second time, you're not going to play 15 and 16. You're going to skip those and go to the second ending. Okay, it's going to get messier than that. So when you go the second time through, skip 15 and 16, and then you're going to play 17 and 18. That's why guys, when I'm working on music, this thing's hanging out next to me all of the time. And what you do with this is you put a big old yellow mark right there at the beginning of repeat number 1, so you can remember when you track through there and your eyes see that yellow sign, you're like, oh, am I on the first repeat or the second repeat? If you're on the second repeat, skip 15 and 16. Okay. Um, Now, 17 and 18 are just finished. 17 is just finishing up the second verse. So then in measure 18, we've been playing way down here. Now we're going to go way up the fretboard. Those of you guys who know this song know Rudy Valley had a voice that could go up into the stratosphere. And so that's exactly what we're trying to capture, that feeling of here. Okay. So then you go find your 9. It's right before the dot on 10. And let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 9, 2, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 9, 7, 5, 4, 5, 7, oh, oh, 2, 4, 5, 7, 7, 7, 5, 5, 5, 2, 5, 3, 3. 5, 5, 4, 5, 4, 2, 2. Okay, and then so that's the main thing, right? Oh, pretty, I love you, baby. Oh, pretty baby. It repeats a whole bunch of times. When you get to 26, it's basically the same exact thing again. And so that if it were me and I was a newer player, I would just want to get where I can knock that melody out really solid, you know. And then I'm gonna go find somebody to strum the chords for me. And if I can get a really clean, beautiful melody out of there, the faster I can play that, the cooler it's going to sound. But if I play it real slow, it gives a whole new feeling to the song, and it's probably fine. I was playing this today at a glacial pace, and it actually sounds kind of cool. All right. Repeats again and measures 36 and so on. So let me stop. Let me back myself up just a bit. When you're on that second time through and you repeat the verse twice, you go to measure 34, it's going to send you all the way back to the beginning again. Okay. And then on that third time through, just make sure you're paying attention. When you get to the end of 14, you're not going to play the first ending, and you're not going to play the second ending. You're going to jump all the way to number 35. Okay. So then let's go to 35. Notice the verse happens again. Okay, and each of these times there's just a tiny bit of difference in them. I don't think I copy pasted them. And then what you want to get down to is, you go through 37, and then it's going to send you back to do that last verse one more time from 37 to 44. You're going to play that section twice. And then at the end, when you get down to the end, you notice, if you can even see it on the paper, things get real spread apart, things get real slow. You want to create this great big drama at the end. So go to 45, and let's just finish up real pretty. Okay. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 7, 2, 4, 5, 2, 5, 7, 2, 4, 5. So give yourself a lot of time and a lot of air so that you can make a really beautiful landing after playing that song. Okay. All right. Now that's the melody. That should keep those of you who are newer. That should give you plenty to work on, right? Those of you guys who've been around a while, we're about to ruin your day. Okay. So let's get going. We're going into the tough uke, and I'll walk through everything. We're not going to probably play the whole thing today, but we're probably going to just talk about those scary moments that you're going to have to sort of memorize, unfortunately. Okay, so let's go from the top. Let's play those 3 zeros. And a nice bar chord on 2. Lift it up. O, 2, D chord, 2, O. Now notice there's no words associated with those last 2 O's. They're just pretty. They're just the way Rudy Valley would sing it. You're just too good to be true, true. Okay, he's doing that kind of a deal. And so I'm trying to capture that with the ukulele. And that's what you're doing. And then you're going to put a little chord on the end of that. Okay, keep going for measure 2. O, O, O. That's what we're working on, trying to get that little lilt in there. Okay, keep going. And now the fingering gets really messy here, so let's do the best we can. You're going to go 0, 0, 0. Now, I have been doing a bar on 2 with my ring finger on 4 to get this crazy D9 chord. And then open it up, put it back. And then I've been switching over to that shape, 2, 2, 4. Okay, and then the problem is you got to get back to the D9, so you got to very quickly drop down and put that shape on. Okay, so it sounds good. You can hear that pop is going to lead you on to the next idea. Okay, and then let's keep going. 0, 0, 3. You feel like, oh, we're getting serious in the song now. Then you're going to grab a G chord and leave the bottom open. Okay, a regular G chord. And let's play these 3s. Open that bottom up again. Grab the 2. Grab your G minor and put a full G minor on. Just a couple of fingers got to switch, and then strum that. Doesn't that sound pretty? And then you're going to get your D chord with the 3. I've just been jumping my index finger up there. Hard to get that chromatic run going down, so you got to find some way to finger that that works for you, and then grab the D chord. A nice big D chord, and then 2, 2, 0. Grab your E. This is your E7, but you're going to put your ring finger here for right now to get this 1, 2, 2. And then you're going to go grab that 3. That sounds nice, and then okay, and that's a partial E7, and then go to measure 14. You're going to grab that minor 6th. And that's that C sharp. I said you're never going to hit that, and there it is. Okay, and then a little deep partial D chord. That's 16 measures. That's a lot of music, and you're going to repeat that basically twice. Okay, so go through that and just see if you can get that smooth. Some of those fingerings are really wonky, but I kept them in there. I can always simplify stuff down to C, F, and G if I have to, but there's no point at this. When you guys have been playing with this stuff for quite a while now, and we want to give you the most color and the most beautiful chords that we can without making it impossible to play. And I do think that these fingering is hard, but I do think it's playable. Okay, all right. So then when you come through on 17, Andy Williams did a version of this. Well, I should go listen to that. Maybe it was easier. All right, let's go to 17. Okay, same as measure 17 and measure 15 are identical, so do that. And then you're going to have a big B minor 7. Now we go way up, and it's kind of fun to drag your finger up to get to that 9, because you get this cool sound. All right, so give that some thought. And those are those 9s. I have been finding that I'm wanting to play it with my ring finger, and then that leaves my index finger open to do the 7s that are coming up next. So we go grab your 7s, and then the next one's still there. And then you're going to have to do another little, there's just a little extra chord in there. It's the baby is what he's singing there, baby. And so it's 9, 7, 7. And so you get to hit that chord twice. That's what you're trying to get, baby, baby. And then you're going to just do ring, pinky, and then the part of the bar chord. And now here's where things are, it looks like a bummer. Okay, it is kind of a bummer. Index on 5, middle finger up here on the top on 6, ring on 7, third string 7, and then your pinky is going to reach out to 9. Okay, that's a whole lot of chord there. Okay, index, middle, ring, pinky. Okay. What you're really doing is you're really doing an E7. You're sliding it up and barring it on 5. Okay, so now you have an A7, and then you're just moving your pinky up to get the melody note. So that's what you're doing. One, and then slide your pinky back to get the 7. Now I let go of the chord because I got too much going on. 5, 4, 5. And this one's going to be, you know how much it'll be flat? Okay. You're going to be doing it on 5, and then you're going to be adding your pinky in on 7 underneath here. Okay. So that's what's going on at that moment. It's a D chord with a 7. Okay. With an E on the top. Makes no sense, but that's what's there. Okay. So you're going to. Okay. And what I would probably do is, rather than doing the B flat shape, I would just do index, middle, and ring, and leave this bottom string open. That way it just is easier to hold this upper part and still get your melody in. Okay. All right. Then we got to go quickly down and grab a regular D chord. 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5. And this looks scary, but it's not. Index finger on 6, and everybody else is on the 7s. Okay, so index finger on 6, 7, 7, 7. Isn't that beautiful? And then the next thing is a regular D. Okay, so you've got 5, 5, 6, 7. It's technically a B minor 7th in this moment, but it's a D. Okay, that's how a ukulele player would think of it. Okay, two more 5s. And then you're going to slide down to the 2, and then you're going to get ready with your 5, and you pull this 2 up to that 2. Okay, so use your middle finger, and then you can just play the 0, 2, 3, which is a G chord hanging out around that E minor 7. And then take off your middle finger again, and we're going to measure 24. And this is kind of a fun thing, because now you're going to slide these 2 back, and if you do it right, you get that wah wah. Okay. Pinky back to 5, 5, 4, 2, strum. Next few measures are identical to what we just went over, so spend a lot of time on 17 through 25. Really get those solid on with your hands. No, they're not easy. It's absolutely going to take you a lot of focus to get them, and it may be too hard, right? If it is too hard, I have never talked about this on these broadcasts. If you're playing tough uke and you get to a part that you're like, I got no idea what the heck he wants from me here. It doesn't even look like it should be playable. He's drunk when he wrote that tough uke. If you think that, all you do is jump up and play the melody line. Just jump up on the ukulele line, play through the really scary part, and then jump back down to tough uke. Okay, I teach that all the time in my intro class, because I actually can see people struggling, right? You guys aren't struggling at all. You, as far as I can tell, you're playing everything perfectly. So we haven't talked about it. But when you are struggling, if it happens, don't let it happen. Just play perfectly all of the time. But if you do struggle, you get to this point, you're like, oh God, I don't even remember what he told me to do there. Just jump up, play a few melody notes, and then jump back down and get back onto the tough uke. It's completely legitimate. Every musician does it. Every one of them. Okay. Maybe not at the those Russian piano competitions, but all the other ones do. Okay, all right. So the rest of all the way down to 34, it's just basically a repeat of what we just went through. So then let's go down and talk from 35. How are we doing on time? Well, we better wrap it up. So 35 to the end again, pretty much. Kind of a repeat. I would go through and I would look at if I'm at 37 and I see that 7779. That was all making sense, and then I got that mess of a thing there at 38. Again, just that A7 chord, but with your pinky on 9. Okay, so that's the same. It's the same as what we just went over, and yeah, so all of that stuff's the same. When you get down to the ending, so really you got that one section, and then you're just going to repeat more or less twice. Okay, and then at measure 45, let's just play from the to the end. Okay, so go to 45. We're going to play 0, 2, 0, 5. Love you. Okay, that's what we're after. Because hear it when he wraps it up, he's going to play it because he's been playing Love You, and now he's playing Love You because he's getting ready to end. He wants to just finish off with a bright flourish. Okay, so you're at measure 30, 45. Love you, and then 20202. Baby, and then 025. Let me love you, baby, and then a nice now. By the way, the real lyrics don't have now on the end, but I felt like I needed to put a word there to make that make sense. Okay, you can just say "love you, baby," and then let the ukulele finish it up. But it sounds better if you just add a now there. Yeah, that's me rewriting music. So, all right. So this is a tough one, and you guys know that. And so Friday we'll try playing it. Okay, so you got a couple days to work on it. I am working at getting you downtown. I just about have it finished, and I'm going to try to get it posted tonight. It's way easier in terms of chords, so much easier in terms of chords, but it's got a really funky bossa nova rhythm to it that's really fun. And so it'll be fun for you to kind of go through it with me, and then go find somebody once they let you out of the house again, to go find somebody that they can play the rest chunk chunk rest chunk chunk rest chunk chunk rest chunk chunk. It's kind of cool. And so we'll talk about how we haven't really had a piece where rhythm made a whole lot of sense, or really a super important idea. And so tomorrow we'll be messing around with that. Like I said, I almost have it finished. I've got all of the parts done except for the tough uke, and usually I can do that pretty quickly. So all right, hopefully I hurt your head today, and you're angry and ready to go tackle Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. And I will see all of you guys tomorrow. Let's wrap it up for today. And tomorrow's last day of the week for new music, and then we'll be talking about Friday in terms of what that's going to look like. And by the way, tomorrow, I believe, if I am not mistaken, tomorrow is My Spaghetti Monster Day. And for those of you who don't know me, My Spaghetti Monster is the most important song ever written for ukulele, and I want you to be a part of it. I want you to tell your friends. They're going to end up with the greatest, most beautiful, most perplexingly awesome song ever in the history of the world. So if you know any ukulele player, call them up tonight, send them an email and say, Gary's teaching My Spaghetti Monster tomorrow, and apparently it's the greatest song ever written for ukulele, and you want them to be a part of that. And so I'll see you tomorrow on the world's greatest song, and let's see I see some things going on over here. Renee, so challenging. Yeah, sorry, Renee. Thank you for being optimistic about a challenge. All right, Red, RMO, should you learn this song? Yeah, heck yeah. Why don't we set it up for RMUO? That's a good idea. That's RMUO is our local orchestra, ukulele orchestra. We think it's the greatest orchestra in the world. So yeah, we'll probably do it. That's a good idea. Chris, let's see. Laurel, head hurting. Yeah, this is a toughie. It is. Yep. And then guys, be kind to yourself. If it's not going well, just play the, simplify. Makes sense. Kat, good to see you. Show up on time, Kat. What the heck are you doing down there in Texarkana? All right, maybe you're probably super busy, right? Patty, have a great day. Gail, good to see you. Have a great day. Caitlin, thanks for being here. I know you're busy, crazy busy, and so it's exciting you can join us. Alan, up there in Brighton. Yeah. See you soon. Lynn, have a great day. Keep that new ukulele humming. And Ann, Ann, I'm just going to put you in Aurora in my head, okay? That'll be faster for us. That way I can make fun of you when I get a chance to hang out with you. All right. Vicky, have a wonderful day. Lanny, good to see you. Have a great day. Carol, my fingers, thank you. Carol, your fingers are thinking, I moved to Puerto Rico to enjoy my life, and now look what you're doing to me, right? Yeah, mess around with it and then put it down and go have a Mai Tai. Isn't that what you do in Puerto Rico? You just sit on the veranda and have Mai Tais. That's it. That's the only thing that there is to do there. All right, Christina, have a wonderful day. Yeah, super challenging. So we'll keep you guys busy. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to end the stream. Thank you all for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. hopefully a better hair job. All right. Have a good day, guys. Barbara, have a great day. Jackie, thanks for everything. Off you go.